Guys, you know what's amazing about the performance by the defense in this game?
What?
Is that the first drive, the Niners went right down the field and scored.
And that was it.
And you're like, oh boy, it's going to be one of those days. And from there on out, the Niners really didn't move the ball at all.
Not only
all
that,
10 points came off turnovers
then,
and short fields.
Then Fred Warner with the pick, and they got a short field, 7-0. Then you really look bad.
Oh, that was crazy. I was like, at that point in time,
And that was a terrible throw.
I was like, we ain't drinking nothing today. That's about to get ugly.
Yeah, I thought so too. I really did. Now, the funny thing is, you mentioned the opening drive, 7-0. We talked earlier in the week about how Kyle Shanahan, that's what they do. They've done that all season long. Now, in 6 opening drives, they've scored 38 points. I mean, you could get 42 if you scored a touchdown in all 6 opening drives. When he's scripted and they're going along and the key was they stayed on schedule and they were easy. They were easier third downs to pick up on. I thought we were done at that point.
I actually had not even started watching the game yet. I had it like paused.
Yeah.
Because they just had to do something really quick. And by the time I got there, I saw an alert that the Niners had scored before I started the game.
Don't you hate that the worst?
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
I was trying to save myself. You're like, dang, 7-0 already?
I know. I was like,
it's like it defeats the whole purpose of the day. 13-8 now. I couldn't believe this. The Browns are 13-8 all time against San Francisco. This is one of the best franchises in the history of the league.
Yeah.
They're 8-2 in home games against San Francisco.
Man.
I mean, some things you just scratch your head. One thing that was wild from yesterday was the Jets had never beaten the Eagles.
Right.
Never.
And they were down 14-3 in their game.
It looked like
I thought they were going to get smoked.
That game really mirrored, in a lot of ways, the Browns and the Niners.
100%.
You had an undefeated team.
100%.
You had a big underdog that came out at home and won the game.
I think anybody questioning the Browns defense going into this game was probably people that were not watching them play. I don't believe Dante Whitner had watched the Browns play. I believe that. I don't think he had ever watched them play before he saw those statements. Or maybe he saw the Ravens game last week only, where they played their worst game defensively.
But that's the only time you saw them play. I can understand why you think they weren't that good.
But that performance, and again, it's fair to acknowledge that the Niners had injuries within the game and that the weather was bad. It's fair to acknowledge it.
They came in healthy, and we put that smackdown on them. When you put them pads on people, yes, sir.
Don't have to.
Yes, sir.
We don't have to pretend things that happened that didn't happen. Those injuries were part of the game, but that's not an excuse for the way the Niners played. They had Brock Purdy, and he was awful. The Browns made him look awful. The weather factored in, no doubt. But he looked awful in that game. He played. Listen, P.J. Walker is not an NFL quarterback. No. He has no business starting an NFL game.
But he outplayed Brock Purdy.
And he played better than Brock. He didn't play well, but he played better than Brock Purdy did.
Neither guy played well. No. But the thing of it was, what was weird, sometimes we always say it matters what you do in the fourth quarter. I thought that Purdy did enough to get them to win.
That final drive.
That last drive, it was the first time he looked comfortable.
He woke up.
The first drive and the last drive were the only times he looked comfortable.
But watching him operate in that last drive, I thought, he's going to be good. The only time it matters in the game, he's going to be good. And their kicker, a Michigan product. Did I say he's a Michigan product?
Who had not missed before yesterday.
I had not missed. And, boy, did you see the pictures of him in the stadium with all of his family members that were there to watch him?
This all goes into it, Jay.
Wow.
The fact that you play on the lakeshore is a reason people be missing. I'm not going to give you no excuse to talk about the weather. It is what it is. You come to Cleveland.
We had to kick in at
that's part of what we do up here.
Yeah.
So that was part of the win. We talk about, look, we need to make it nasty and ugly. I love what Kevin Stefanski said at halftime. Laughing and joking about how nasty we're dragging them right down in the mud.
Yeah, that was a good line.
I love that one.
2 guys, to me, that deserve a lot of credit. We haven't talked about either of these guys a lot this year. One, if you look at the box score of this game and you go to defense and you look at Dalvin Tomlinson, you're not going to be impressed if you look at the box score. If you did not watch the game.
Right.
If you just look at the box score, Dalvin Tomlinson says 1 tackle.
Yep.
There's no stats. He essentially had no stats. But if you watch that game, that's why you can't, the stats are almost irrelevant when it comes to defense. Because anybody watching that game, they called his name like 15 times. He kept disrupting the play for other guys to make plays. He was fantastic, and he's a fat guy. I love fat guys because I'm a fat guy. He's got the big fat guy head that barely fits in the helmet, and I love it. Number 2, JOK was all over the place. He was all over. He was a monster. The Browns had 8 sacks and tackles for a loss total on defense. 8 total. He had 4 of them.
All
4
over.
of the 8.
All over. He was. You know what? I remember when we had DeQuell in, and he was saying he's thinking and it's slowing down his process. He's playing now without a brain in his head. He's got one mission: get to the football. And his athleticism now, and that's the difference between a Jim Schwartz and a Joe Woods, Joe Woods was trying to put him into a bin. This is who you are, and this is what you do.
Right.
Jim Schwartz came and looked at him and said, oh, hell no. No, you just play football.
Yeah.
You just go find the football, and you're going to be just fine.
Yeah, Kevin called him a heat-seeking missile after the game.
That's what he looked like.
And we talked about before the year. If he's going to have success in the NFL, this is the system for him. The defensive line creates chaos up front. The linebackers clean it up. And he's allowed to play freely, move fast, chase the ball. And he had the best game of his life yesterday.
Guys, did you get this message?
No.
There is a message right here. It's been going off. I think my phone is on silent. There's an Amber Alert out for George Kittle. He got taken away in a Cadillac sedan. He's been missing since Friday night. And George, where was you at, big dog? I gladly took the L in fantasy because you got shut down. One catch, one target.
Especially with Debo and McCaffrey out for much of the game.
You were supposed to be eating.
You know what's interesting about Kittle, and I noticed this late in the first quarter, and I'm not saying this is why he wasn't a performer yesterday, but there was one play where Miles, late in the first quarter, instead of attacking and going after Trent Williams and trying to get to the quarterback, he turned and absolutely blew up George Kittle. Just blew him up at the line to where Kittle was like flying backwards. And I asked Miles after the game, like, why'd you do that? And he said, you hit him sometimes, you give him that pop early on, they're thinking about it the rest of the game. Yeah. And again, I'm not saying that's why his numbers weren't what they were, but I noticed one play, Miles absolutely destroyed. And I said, like, were you just trying to get him off his route? Did you guys think he was the primary? You're trying to get him off his route. He's like, no, I just want to blow him up. And
that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
And he blew him up. You'd have to go back. It was the play. Miles picked up the flag. Mm-hmm. The official was looking for his flag, and Miles had it in his hand. He handed it back to him. And then the very next play, he just destroyed Kittle on when Kittle was trying to get out on a route.
Things like that can have a big impact on the game. Again, you mentioned it doesn't show up in the box score, but it's all those little things that add up. I thought the defense yesterday, we talked about the 5 games, 1,002 yards allowed, just barely over 200 yards per game. The last time a team did that in the NFL was 1970, and it was a pretty good defense.
Different game back then.
Much different game, and that was a pretty good defense, too, that did that. So when you look at historically, we've tried to measure this team historically. It's really tough to do through 3 games, 4 games, and 5 games. However, they are historically elite through 5 games.
And it's worth noting, this schedule was front-loaded.
It was.
With really good teams.
Yeah.
They played the Niners. They played the Bengals. Now Burrow's on one leg, but I don't care. They played the Bengals, the Ravens. Like, they played some pretty good offenses and pretty good teams in there. And that makes those numbers even more impressive.
It does.
And even though the Titans don't have a great offense, Derrick Henry's a great back.
Absolutely.
And Derrick Henry in every other game this year has had a big game.
Yeah.
He's played well outside of the Browns game. Yeah. That's the Browns defense. Listen, they got to do it for a lot longer before we call them historic on a season. But here's what's the most important thing, and the only thing that matters right now. Through 5 games, the Browns have the best defense in the NFL.
There it is.
That's it. End of conversation. Doesn't mean that they got to keep it up for the whole year, but through 5 games, the Browns have the best defense in the NFL. Period.
Not
end of conversation.
Not close. It is not close.
They're almost dead last in takeaways because we got one yesterday.
Yeah.
But we did nothing with it. No complimentary football. When you take that football away, the offense has to do something. We went 20 yards the wrong direction and punted.
It's baffling. The Browns have lost the turnover battle in every single game.
I know.
They're 3-2.
Yet they're 3-2. That defies NFL logic.
Yeah, that can't continue. That will run out eventually.
No.
I mean,
their quarterbacks. Last 2 weeks, quarterbacks no touchdowns, 5 picks.
Yeah, our quarterbacks are turnover sieve.
You got to have Watson back. And I'm the one who says don't be prisoner of the moment and don't go crazy. But if we can, it's a big if. We got to see it. I don't know when he's going to be back. But if we can get the Watson that played against Tennessee, then the Browns are as good as any team in football and can win a Super Bowl. It's that simple.
Co-sign that. That's a huge if.
It's a huge if.
Because we have seen him for 3 games this year. 3 games?
3, yeah.
And he's only been that guy once.
Right.
McNuggets.
Real quick, you guys know I love advanced stats, analytics, all that stuff. The Browns' defensive EPA is off the charts this year, and EPA uses turnovers as one of the highest factors, weighted-wise,
right,
in calculating.
So
the fact
even
that
with
the Browns, even though they are second to last in the NFL with takeaways, they still rank so high in EPA. Like, I'm talking, I think it's 4 of the top 18 games in the NFL this year are 4 Browns defensive performances in the most highest graded EPAs.
Wow.
They are that good in every other category measurable outside of turning the ball over, which is partly luck, and there is some tangible skill and coaching to it. But the fact that they are that high, despite the heaviest weighted factor in the equation being irrelevant to them, is stupid. It breaks every level of math and every common sense factor you could put into it.
It'd be like scoring the most runs in baseball, but you're almost dead last on home runs.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to be effective as a defense when you're not taking the ball away.
And if you look at that, I saw that stat too, Mike, that the Browns have 4 of the best defensive performances in the top 18. And think about it, how many games, right? Most teams have played 6 games, some have played 5. You're talking about, 16 games a week? That's 16 times 6.
72 games? No, it's 92 games.
Yeah. So you've had a lot of games, and the Browns have 4 of the top 18.
96 games.
No other team has more than 2.
Wow.
I'm assuming it's the Niners have 2 of the top 18.
Right.
No other team has more than 2. The Browns have 4.
Guys, what changed after that first drive? Because the first drive, San Francisco was doing whatever they wanted. They mowed right down the field. And we all thought the same thing. Oh, boy, here we go. And that was it. San Francisco did not score another point the entire game that wasn't handed to them on a short field with a turnover.
And by the way, McCaffrey didn't get hurt till the second half. So it was like that. So that was a factor in the second half, but not in the first half. And I don't care.
Debo went out early. But
Debo, I don't care about. They've played with Debo's hurt all the time. They've played without him a million times and played great offense. Earlier this year, they had a game without him. Earlier this year, they had a game without
Kittle. Did Kittle miss a game?
No, Kittle,
early?
not the other wide receiver, Ayuk.
Yeah.
He didn't play a game. Debo, there was one game a few weeks ago where Debo had no catches, and they won by 30 points. And so McCaffrey wasn't until the third quarter. So I don't want to hear about that. It's hard to say what changed. They're just a really great defense, and they knew the only way to win this game was to play great.
Was it Schwartz adjustments?
Jay, it was them first. I tell you about them scripted plays. Scripted plays is cheating. Scripted plays is, hey, we're going to work on these all week. We already know what we're going to run.
It's like an open book
Yeah,
test.
like it's like, okay, I got my plays that you probably haven't seen on film, and we're going to run down the field and we're going to score. But after you run the little plays that you just threw in this week, now it's a chess match. You got to go play for play, match it with the defensive coordinator. Now it's his best play off the top of his head. It's your best play. What are you going to choose? And the Browns, the thing that the Browns do very well, and you're seeing it now, is you're seeing the rotation. Alex Wright, he's coming in playing more. Obo, he's coming in. They don't just keep Myles Garrett out there for 100,000 snaps. They got enough depth to bring the pressure and keep bringing it. Yeah. And I think the thing that happened to him was when you have the run game, it is very difficult to keep running the football when somebody is stopping you. Your natural reaction is to, you know what? I got Debo, I got Ayuk, I got Kittle. We need to air this out a little bit. We'll test them back there.
And that just didn't work.
And it just didn't work. Just didn't work for you, bro.
Jay, did you see anything?
I just saw Brock Purdy being really uncomfortable. His feet were a mess. His footwork was a mess. He was never comfortable in the pocket. I think that they just got after him. And we've seen a lot in the NFL where a team will march down and score, and then that's it. Then they get stoned the rest of the game.
Browns have done that a number of times.
They've been on the opposite end where they move down and score, and then they can't get anything. Yeah. So the secondary played incredibly well. There was nobody open. And the back end, and when you're bringing pressure with 4 and 5, you can drop extra guys into coverage. And it just worked perfectly. The line with the secondary worked really well.
Look at that disgusting stat.
That's crazy.
Allowing a 7.5 QBR in man coverage.
71% of the dropbacks, by the way. So, I mean, your menu is loaded with man coverage. They haven't played that much man all year.
And they got guys that are doing it at a high level. Shout out. I thought Denzel Ward, again, just played a fantastic game. You can't even... They're not even looking his way sometimes. Yeah. They're just deciding, I'm going to go at Martin Emerson. I'm going to throw the ball to. And think about it. Besides that last drive, what did Purdy have before the last drive where Ayuk kind of, made a little shifty play?
Very little.
The Niners had 6 yards in the third quarter. 6.
They averaged less than 4 yards per play for the whole game. Less than 4 yards per play. Think about that. That's ridiculous.
Well,
the Niners had averaged 402.5 402.5 yards of offense per game going into yesterday. 402.5.
We almost cut that in
yesterday they had 215.
Yeah. It was something to watch. I mean, we talked about sometimes when everybody's saying one thing about a game coming in, it's the NFL. It was the same thing with the Jets and the Eagles. As I was watching that game, I just kept thinking to myself, this is like a carbon copy of what we just watched.
Well, Vegas, I looked this up yesterday. Vegas, when the Browns are this big of an underdog, first of all, they've been a 9-point favorite, of 9-point dog or
Browns
more.
usually lose
75 times since they came back.
Stunning.
It's by far the most in the NFL. I think the Lions were like 63-ish times. Browns 75 times. Before yesterday, 5 and 70 in games when they were 9-point dogs or more.
It's a game
5
you're
and
supposed
70.
to lose. Everything said they were supposed to lose.
We've had as many presidential elections as we've had Browns wins when they were 9-point underdogs or more. Seriously, it's now 6-6 in presidential elections and Browns wins.
So about once every 4 years they do it.
Nothing.
Well, I don't know that they're going to be favored. Well, if they have Watson back, they won't be a dog by double digits.
You know what would be funny to look at? How many times the Patriots have been a double dog digit in that same time?
I can pull it up.
Because much of that was with Brady, where they were never
they're going to be double dog on
digit.
the digits a few
They
times
might
the rest
be.
of this year.
They might. Teddy Bruschi, by the way, this morning, saying it might be time for Kraft to make a move.
Wow.
And Bruschi and Belichick were as close as any coach quarterback that I was aware of.
That's been
Or
for a
coach
couple
player,
weeks now.
rather.
I mean, the Browns are just going to have a chance every game because of their defense.
Right.
Now, ultimately, as a whole, they're going to have to play way better offensively to do what we hope they can do in the long run than they've played. Their offense has been
eventually
subpar.
you're going to have to beat a whole bunch of good teams in a row in the playoffs.
And my thing,
but their defense is going to give them a chance every single week.
I agree with
how
that.
can they get P.J. Walker not to throw 3 picks? Because, like,
he only threw 2, to be fair.
Okay.
He threw 2, but I'll tell you what, guys.
third one
We
should
all
have been.
thought the same thing when the ball came out of his hand
On
into
that
the
throw
end
in the end
zone.
zone.
That's it. They just lost the football game.
He scares me, and the Browns with that defense have a chance to beat anybody. But with P.J. Walker at quarterback, they got a chance to lose to anybody.
Yeah, he's terrible. He's not a good quarterback.
Like-
but I thought it was,
There's a
Jay,
chance.
you and I last week said just stick with DTR, stick with DTR.
Yeah.
But the Browns made the right call.
In
Because
the end, it was the right call.
P.J. Walker, if nothing else,
Right.
there was a little leadership in that.
Yeah.
Watching the huddle, he was a leader.
Yeah, he
You know,
was.
he's not that good a
Now,
player.
the other thing, too, was then we don't know how it would have turned out. He had a whole week to get ready, where DTR had
2 weeks, really.
you know,
But yes.
Yep, 2 weeks essentially. Before we move too far down the road on yesterday's game, because there's a lot to talk about still, do we know anything at all about Deshaun's situation? Is he going to play against Indy? Because I saw some tweets.
Yeah,
and
there's
some
a
things.
chance.
Yeah.
It's really weird. I mean, it's a good thing they won because it's sort of
Yeah, none of
pushes
the
these
talk from
questions
last week
off.
matters
It
anymore.
burned off all the ugly
Yeah,
words.
Pushes some of these
That's it.
questions
Right.
off for a few days. But it's really strange around what's ever happening with Deshaun. And
Even
Sheffield.
now, is there more stuff that we don't know
No,
about?
I'm just saying all of the information's been really confusing.
Yeah, the
By
messaging
the
has been
way,
horrific.
I'm expecting, and we should all be expecting, the Browns to go win in Indy, no matter who the quarterback is, because they got a backup quarterback too.